Let's see. Ha! We did it.
Hello.
All right. We are live and we have both our faces on the screen. And I can't hear you, Rob. It's probably because I don't have my volume up.
Can you hear
Talk
me?
again. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Good. We did the hard part.
All right.
All right. So I was just telling everybody who's coming on. Thanks for coming on, you guys. This is IGLive with acting coach Robert Colt and my dear friend. And the purpose of this auspicious occasion is that I think Rob is like one of the best kept secrets in Hollywood. And I've had the privilege of working with him for, what, 9 or 10 years, Rob?
That's right.
Yeah. And Rob does not advertise and he doesn't really play the social media game, which I find incredibly refreshing. But I want people to know about him because in all of my decades of being a professional actor and working with coaches, he's the very best fit for me, the best coach I've ever encountered in my life. So I want people to know about him. And that's why we're doing this. Rob, I'm going to read your just a little blurb about you, if that's okay with
Sure.
you. Okay, cool. Here we go. All right. Robert Colt grew up in show business. At the age of 5, he was catching wardrobe in the wings for burlesque dancers. And by the age of 13, he was working the spotlight for sold-out burlesque shows for over 1,500 people. In the audience. It was there that he watched some of the most gifted burlesque comics of their day. He would later learn, as a young actor, that Lee Strasberg would have his students go to 12th Street and 2nd Avenue to watch the popular show This Was Burlesque and study the timing of burlesque comics. While he loved the shows and the late weekend nights of having night lunch with the cast and crew, Robert had dreams of being a professional athlete, which was cut short by several knee operations. At first, he thought he'd become a sports writer, but while in college as a sophomore, he went to see the film The Deer Hunter. When the movie ended, he turned to 2 friends and said, "I'm leaving college. I have to do that." Over the years that followed, Robert trained with Warren Robertson, Bill Esper, and Wynn Hanman. It wasn't until he worked with Harold Guskin that it became clear, and why it said, it takes 20 years to master the craft of acting. This March will be Robert's 10th year of teaching what he calls the art of not acting. For 17 years, along with his wife Michelle, he co-taught the sold-out workshops in Los Angeles, New York City, and San Francisco called Inside Game. It was initially called Acting Success Now. Robert's approach to acting is visionary in that he's refined both the art of acting and combining it with the tools from Inside Game, accelerating one's growth as an actor in person. Robert's students have gone on to be series regulars, make and star in movies, and have been invited to the Cannes Film Festival. So that's pretty. That's pretty all. That's a lot.
Yeah, just want to make it clear, because of the burlesque background, you don't have to be a stripper to be in class. So just so that's clear.
All those strippers are welcome, right?
Sure.
Great. Well, I wanted to start out, and because people probably don't know much about this, and I think it's something that you include in your work, and I also think it's part of what you do, and it's been a big contribution to me over the years. Can you talk a little bit about the first business you had with Michelle, your wife, that was first called Acting Success Now and then became Inside Game? Because when I first met you in 2010, I walked into SAG-AFTRA, the Cagney room, this huge room, to a sold out audience, and there wasn't a free seat. So I walked in and I had to stand in the back of the room because these workshops you guys did were so popular. And that's when I first saw you and Michelle, and you were talking about Inside Game. And I later went on to do some of those workshops, which were pretty life changing for me. Can you talk a little bit about that so that people get a sense of it?
Sure. Uh, it's one thing to be talented. It's one thing to be your craft, but there's another component, and it is, are you in or out of your own way? And I realized that I remember being a young actor, a teacher might say, hey, you're very gifted, you're very talented, but you're in your own way. You got to get out of your way. And my whole thing was, well, how do you do that? Because nobody. So I happened to, many years ago, I was at a workshop in San Diego. It was a weekend workshop, cost $3,000. And it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And on the Sunday of it, it was like this flash. I knew what I was going to go do with my life at this point. And I'll never forget it. I raised my hand. Some wealthy people in this room. And the wealthiest person, after I raised my hand, I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to create a workshop to help actors get out of their way. And this big guy, he looked like a bullfrog. He was worth, I think, close to $750 million. And he went like this. He went, don't do it. Actors never have. Well, I think I'm a rebel at heart. As soon as he said, don't do it, I knew I was going to do more than I thought I was going to do it. So I went back to New York and I put together a workshop. And from the very beginning, it was successful. And I had done a lot of work for years studying Eastern thought. Then I studied quantum physics and neuroscience. And I came up with about 25 different techniques to help actors, because it was mostly actors, writers, coming directors, producers, casting directors, actually. And I wanted to say people that you would know in film and TV were coming. And I put together the workshop with my wife, co-taught it, and we taught techniques how to get out of their own way. And a lot of people don't realize how they're in their way. And there was a seminal point in these workshops, which I think was the whole key. So if I ask people watching this right now, how many of you out here feel like you ever had self-sabotage? No question. And you would be right, and at the same time, you would be wrong. And here's what I mean by that. From the brain and nervous system's perspective, and what I'm about to share now is so key. It's the core. And this is really what prompted these workshops. From the brain and nervous system, your brain and nervous system doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you're successful. It doesn't care if you're a terrific actor. It doesn't care about any of that. It only cares about one thing: survival. That's it. We're wired to survive. Now, what some people, and many people don't realize this, that if their conditioning has conditioned them not to be able to really go for their careers, or if they feel like they can only handle so much success, that wires into the nervous system, and the nervous system is going to do everything it can to keep where your beliefs are. That's the game. So what people do, opportunity, they'll get a great opportunity, for a film, meeting a casting director, getting a potential great class, and they will, in quote, self-sabotage that opportunity. From the brain and nervous system's perspective, if you could get this piece, by the way, you may get it intellectually, but at a certain point, it has to hit your core. From the brain and nervous system perspective, it's not self-sabotage, it's self-preservation. If you can get that, you give yourself the biggest break of your life, because you never self-sabotage a day in your life. All that was happening was self-preservation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because people watching this, it's a life changer. It's like a wonderful saying. Most people will do anything to be right about their belief, even if doing so creates failure, suffering, unhappiness. So the question is often, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be successful? Why? Because the brain nervous system is going to do everything it can, call it a neural thermostat. In other words, everybody watching this has a temperature setting in their nervous system through childhood conditioning for how much success they can handle, how much money they can make and handle, relationships. Can they handle a good relationship? It doesn't just mean with a partner in life. It could be an agent. It could be a manager. So your nervous system is going to do everything it can to keep that temperature setting. So if you come out of it, it's going to do what it can to pull you back. So I know that working with actors, I see it all the time. So I see some actors, not some, over the years, start having breakthroughs, and then you watch how their behavior will do something to come back again, go to a safe place. So I call it actually your safety. Your nervous doesn't want you out of your safety zone, even if it means having a great career. So you have to have this understanding, and you have to have tools how to get out of your own way. Use them. That's what we did for years. Now my wife teaches that privately with clients, but we did that for 18 years. What happened to me about 10 years ago, an actor, friend and wonderful actor and a teacher in New York said, "Rob, please teach an acting class. I don't trust anybody out in LA." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And that's how it all happened.
I think, I mean, you're the only person I'm aware of who does what you do in combining that inside work with the acting class as well, which is fantastic. Because I think a lot of times what happens in a lot of acting classes is people will get stuck, and a lot of acting coaches I've worked with will try and give people techniques to layer on. To give them techniques to make them better. And what I find that you do is you're looking at what's getting in the way and helping to tease that away. You know what I mean? Can you talk more about that?
To help tease what away?
Well, I find what a lot of acting teachers do is when somebody's stuck is they'll layer on more techniques,
Yeah.
which just adds more layers. And what I find you do is you help to take away the stuff that's in the way instead of adding something more.
Right. No, okay. So, you know, I got to answer this simply because that's an in-depth kind of potential answer. So the best way I could say it is most people do not consciously see how they're getting in their own way. So
Yeah.
it's an unconscious process. So if I see that's happening, as you've seen this, I may take a moment, stop the scene, and deal with what's presenting itself in that moment with a particular person. Whatever the belief is, whatever emotion might be coming up or not coming up, and dealing directly with that. Rather, I think what you're saying is rather than add to it, I work in deconstructing it.
Yes, exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that's so. You have to deconstruct it, and you have to neutralize the charge. Not it keeps people's lives. See, acting is very fun. You know, I think they call it a play for a reason. I've said this many times. They don't say I'm going to a seriousness tonight. I'm going to go see a suffering tonight. No, I'm going to go play, and it really is play. From my perspective, you're not having fun. Something in you is tight. And if you look at if you look at some of the techniques in acting, it was all, aside from craft, a large part, how do we get the actor not to be self-conscious? How do we get them to be relaxed? Well, in method acting, a core of their work is relaxing. In Meisner acting, core of the whole technique was what you doesn't depend upon you, it depends upon the other fella. Why? Because if I put all my attention there, I might not be self-conscious and I'm relaxed. I personally have found an easier way to do all that over the years, and I'm very grateful to it. I worked with many wonderful teachers, and including late Harold Guskin, and that was a key point for me as well. So it's getting out of your way, and at the same time, finding a way to being truthful that is simple as possible, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
I think a good example to get a little personal is that for myself, I grew up in a family where I had to present myself a certain way
Right.
so that they would love me and so that I would feel safe. And one of the things that you've helped me tremendously to start to shed is like not trusting my authentic reactions, you know, whereas I would tend to, again, most actors, a lot of actors who come to you, we all have ideas. And that's something I feel like I've been shedding, like, oh, I should say it this way, or I should respond this way, or, my character would do this. And what is completely exciting to me and a part of me is completely terrifying is I don't know how I'm going to be until I listen to that other person and allow an authentic reaction to bubble up inside me, which I didn't used to trust
Yeah.
at all because of my upbringing. And it's been so exciting to not know and to allow these reactions to bubble up and to appear and to happen. And they're often not what I expect them to be or think that they should be.
Yeah, well, culture as a whole rewards conformity, and, and the living moment doesn't conform to anything but the truth. So the living moment is nonconformist. So when you get actors that, I'll say this, there's different types of actors, but the kind of actors that I love to work with are those that are non-conforming. What I mean by that, they're non-conforming to the cultural conditioning that you should basically be nice and appropriate, have the right response, where the mind is prioritized over the heart and over the emotions. So, it's a different kind of animal. And I use that word animal consciously because we're human animals. And the one thing I really see actors crave the most is to be this alive animal. And the one thing I see they fear the most is being that alive animal because of the condition of society.
It is the most exciting thing when I can get to places as an actress where it feels like it's coming through me, like it's alive and wild. And there's not a part of me going, you should do this, you should do this, say it like that. But I'm so taken in, I'm so in it that it does me.
Yeah, I've been
And
I've been since 1980, and in 44 years, I've never had one idea of work yet. Not one. Why? Because once you have an idea, you're in your head, and now you have to produce that idea. The problem is the moment has nothing to do with that idea. That moment is unfolding naturally, you or the other actor, whoever's seen, but the idea is preconceived. How could you have a preconceived moment with a moment that never happened? I mean, I don't know how you do it. You could fake it. You could bring in, I guess, you could bring in techniques, but I've noticed over the years that some of those techniques actually weaken actors rather than strengthen them in the.
I find, in my early training, um, I had acting coaches who, would very adeptly and intellectually break down a script. So, this and they're angry here and they're jealous here and your goal, what was the word? Your goal or your
Oh,
intention is to do
yeah,
this and then do it with an active verb. And so there was so much ideas and thinking. And, the way you break down a script is actually from an emotional point. It's not from an intellectual. It's so exciting because when we get in class, you start to help us, like you get under our skin with it. You want to talk about that, how you break down a script emotionally, how you touch on that.
well, again, this is we're theorizing in a way here because it has to be a live moment, when you're in it. But I talk the emotional truth that you're really connecting to. It's in the writing. it's there. Look, I could break down a script sleeping, honestly, intellectually. It's not hard once you know it. The problem is it tends to put actors in their head. How do you put them in their heart, in their emotions, in their gut? You have to talk to them in a specific way that's not heady. So you talk, again, you got to understand the actor you're working with, the type you're working with. But I've noticed that you talk about the truth of the circumstances in a human way, It's very important. In a way that can hit your empathy, in a way that can connect you to your feelings about that situation. But without thinking about it, Ricky, without thinking yourself through it. Karen, it's a little challenging because it's like you have to be in it.
Yeah.
You have to be in it. If not, it could be empty theory, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I have a question from somebody here, Robert, it's a cool question. From the real Landon Smith. And he says, how can a beginner start making connections fast?
what kind of connections are there?
I don't know. Emotional connections, maybe?
Specific,
Let's see.
I'm not sure what connections they're
Yeah.
talking about.
Let's see
Yeah.
if he adds to that at some point. We'll put a pause on
Yeah.
that. Also, somebody asks, how does Robert's technique work for voice actors who are alone in the booth? And I'd say you've transformed my voice acting career. I mean, I had a very successful voice acting career before I met you, but I feel like my work as a voice actor is so much more, I'm so much more connected to it. I'm not just doing voices anymore, but I'm connecting to the heart and soul of the character. Because any acting is about feeling things, it's about, and allowing other people to feel things. And you work with on-camera actors. You also work with a lot of voice actors. I brought you some of my voice acting friends, and it's had that same effect on them as well.
Yeah, I think you just answered the question how it's worked for you.
Yeah.
Because I work from a place of truth. Let me say it this way: I'm absolutely reverent to the truth, and I'm irreverent to what's not true. And a lot of people, sometimes not a lot, I've worked with actors where they'll say, being truthful. And I'll say, you're being conventionally truthful. It's conventional, but it's not a real truth. It's not organic. It's not that ruthlessly real, that thing where you're unapologetic. If you want true freedom and joy as an actor, it has to be an unapologetic truth that is direct and it's alive. So even there, it gets a little gray. For you, look at Karen, you're courageous because you had to go through a process where you felt you were real, and I would say, no, that's not truthful, but that's not really real, And then, a certain point comes, get it.
It was extremely uncomfortable for me and scary.
Right.
Because and confronting because, the part of myself that I had carried to protect myself. And also, what I thought was acting, which was presenting something, and I got away with it. And I think I've always been a decent actor, but to really be able to be in the vulnerability of realizing that I was acting, as opposed to allowing myself to have a visceral reaction and allowing that to come through it's night and day. It's night and day. And it's confronting to have to feel those uncomfortable things about myself. And I think anybody who works with you is courageous in that way because it takes a vulnerability and an openness. And there's a big pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, though.
Well, an actor's greatest strength is their vulnerability. And the culture and society is, it has to work with masses of people, but the process falsifies us. and it domesticates us, and it wants to make us all nice and appropriate. That's culture. Art, the art of acting, whatever art, it gives you an opportunity to go from the falseness of culture to the beauty and the truth of art, in which everything is embraced. Everything about your humanity is embraced. What people feel ashamed or they feel is ugly about them is actually the most beautiful in art. Insecurity, anger, fear. If an actor or an actor can really express fear, if it's really happening, it's stunning to watch it. Vulnerability, joy, passion, compassion, the whole thing is there to be expressed in art. But it's to be expressed in a way that's celebrated. If you do certain things in acting out in life, you're in trouble, but you do it in acting and you're getting rewarded for it. So, it's an interesting dance. You got to love it. You got to
It's
love being alive, love being truthful.
it's funny. I'm just reflecting on how scary it is to allow oneself to even feel fear, you know, because most of us are scared when we're acting, and then we try and block the fact that we're scared, and just to be in that vulnerable space and allow ourselves to be afraid. Um, I just think all those human emotions that we're so afraid, and like you said, we're conditioned out of feeling, and that's the juice. That's where it's at. I mean, that's why people go to the movies.
Well, maybe this could help some people. So, what do fear, anger, love uh, have in common? Hate. What do they have in common? They have something very much in common. Fear, anger, love, hate, sadness, rage. I'm just thinking of all the emotions. They have one thing in common. They're all energy in the sky. That's all they are. Emotion. Ready? E equals energy and motion. All emotion is energy and motion. Whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's love, whether it's passion, it's actually energy and motion. If you watch a little child, one minute they're angry, the next minute they're gurgling and laughing, one minute, the next second crying. All this life is going through them. It's no wonder that some of the finest actors have said that they're childlike. They are childlike, being that the emotions just move through them freely in the given circumstances they're writing. So to me, when you realize a couple facts, one is your whole mechanism of your brain and nervous system is all about survival. Fine. You've never self-sabotaged, you've only self-preserved. And two, emotions are nothing but energy and motion. That's all they are. It's a celebration and a joy of the expression of energy. Easy from that
Yeah.
perspective. But if you have conditionings, for example, anger's bad. Guys, a lot of guys never show you're afraid. Fear's bad. Well, if you get a message that it's bad, your brain and nervous system, if you start feeling that, it's going to go into a panic mode and try to block it. It'll do everything it can to stop it. And therefore, you now are limited. And that, speaking of limited, I've noticed now for the past 30, 20, 25 years that what most people defend, Karen, are their limitations. And they're very good at it because the brain and nervous system is real good at coming up with excuses and reasons to limit us. This is what we did for 25 years. I mean, sorry, 17, 18 years teaching that workshop. But to me, I want to focus on the joy of acting. It's such a beautiful thing to be an actor. Do you know how lucky you are if you're an actor? Now, yeah, it's competitive, it's challenging, but if you have a great craft and you're out of your way, you've got a shot, man. You've got a real shot.
Will you talk a little bit about Harold Guskin, um, your encounter with him, and how he kind of changed everything for you? And um, He's a cool dude, and he's passed away since. And I said this to you before. I worked with Harold in New York at your recommendation, and it was spectacular. But I personally think what you have to offer, you take what he does and you go even further. And even if he was still alive and I had a choice to work with the two of you, I would choose you right now because I feel like you take his work and you take it a step further. But in any case, that's just my personal experience. Talk a little bit about Harold, if you don't mind, because he's fascinating and how he
No,
affected
I
you.
appreciate that, Karen, and I always acknowledge my teachers and my sources, as
Mm.
you know, I do so a lot of appreciation to them. I think it's important not to step on anybody's coattails, but you step on their shoulders, and then somebody steps on your shoulders. That's how, things go forward and get refined. When I went to Harold, I had always had an allergy to heady techniques. I had now whoever's watching this may work for them. Whatever works for you works for you. This is not about this is good and this is bad. That's not what I'm about to say. What I want to make clear is, for me, I had an allergy to intentions and objectives, the spine, all that stuff. I studied all that. It got me in my head all the time, and I, from the beginning, was a very instinctive type of actor. When I got to Harold, first time I worked with him, it was kind of like this. I wanted to show off, so I brought a piece that I knew back and front, I thought. And so I started doing it. He said it just like this. He said, nah, 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 nah. Not going to do that piece. Fucking know that piece. Let me get you something you don't know. So he handed me something I've never seen. And he goes, go ahead, trust it. So I started doing it. And it connected. Something started to connect right away. And then about 4 or 5 um, times with him, 5 times later, he gave me a piece from Key Exchange, and I did both parts, which is what I show actors how to do this. I thought this is an amazing contribution. There's a specific way to do it, and I have to take somebody through it. It takes a bit of time. So I did both parts out loud, and all of a sudden, I got so real in this moment. I just got so real for me, and I said it a certain way that I would never think to say it. And he looked at me and he went like this. He goes, "The fucking piece. That's it. Actors always miss that." I go, "Harold, it can't be this easy. It can't be this easy." And he looked at me. I'll never forget this, Karen, because it changed my life as an actor. He said, and I'm talking like how Harold talked. He said, it is fucking easy, and nobody wants to. Now, at that time, Kevin Kline was working with him too. So I'll never forget it. I was going for another one-on-one with him, and Kevin Kline, he said Kevin Kline was coming out. I didn't know it was Kevin Kline. As he opened the door, he turned around and said to the actor, Kevin Kline, be nice. And I'm thinking, be nice? Who's coming out? Kevin Kline came out looking like a wild animal. He was working on a movie. So I go in and I said, Harold, this is really interesting to me. Why is Kevin still you after 30 years? And he said, because he fucking forgets. He forgets how to work still. What it really meant was this, Karen. I love sports. I'm a big basketball fan. I wish acting was more like sports. Athletes are coached until they retire. You know, I don't care how great they are. They're still in practice and still getting coached into the last minute of their lives as a basketball player and the last game as a baseball player. Derek Jeter of the Yankees being coached after getting a hit at first base by his coach in his last game, and he's a Hall of Famer. You know, we need to be reminded. We need to be always working as actors, whether it's in a film, whether it's in a reading, whether it's in a class. You know, and we need that kind of that coach. Just how we all are.
Will you tell the story about Harold and Glenn Close?
Sure. So Glenn Close was having a hard time. She was a fantastic theater actress in New York. She was having a hard time with movie auditions. So she said to Harold, I'm having a hard time with movie auditions. I don't know why I'm not booking. And he said to her, he said, Glennie, you need to let them see how you work. This is very important. You need to let them see how you work. Now, I know how she works. She works the way I work, the way we work. She works by constantly being in a place of exploration. So basically what she did, her next film audition, she said, okay, I'm just going to let them see how I work. I'm not going to try to get the job. I'm not going to get them to like. I'm not here for that. I'm here to explore the way I work. And she literally went there and explored. No ideas. She walked out, she booked the movie. And then you have the world according to Garp. So, no, it is nice. But who has the courage to really do that, right? To me, the actor that never stops exploring. It's the last take of a film, last day of shooting. You're still exploring. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and that's what you say all the time in class. This is not a performance. You don't want to perform. It's not about performing. It's about a constant exploration.
Well, think about life for a minute. Life is constantly changing. There's no permanent moment in life. There's nothing static. Life is not static. It's constantly moving. On a quantum level, things are changing so fast that if I go like this and look back, you're not the same. So the problem is if you're not exploring, you're getting static. Again, you can get away with certain things as an actor. You can fool people, but for me, I don't think you deserve the paycheck. Don't fool people that way. Take a risk.
What you're talking about reminds me of what I sometimes do and other actors sometimes do is we get so excited that we found an emotion that we hang on to that emotion and then we keep acting in that emotion because we get so happy and then the emotion's not real anymore.
You're bringing up a very important point. The reason why you hold on to the emotion is so pleasurable to have it in the moment. And whenever we experience something pleasurable, we don't want it to end. So what happens is you resist letting it go. We're enacting, instead of creating more truth, it creates falseness. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now I was in the truth, but I want that moment again. Well, the moment's gone. Can you trust that a new moment will happen? That'll be what it is, and it'll be just fine.
And that you're not in control of.
But you're not in control of it. That's the whole point. So you're bringing up the control issue. The best way I could say it right now, anybody listening to this, are you beating your heart or is your heart just beating? Right? Are you seeing or is seeing just happening? Well, if you close your eyes, you can't stop seeing darkness. Seeing is always happening. Hearing is always happening. The heart's beating. You're not doing any of it. Well, life in the same way is moving like that. And actors Sandy Meisner has a great way to say it. Great actors don't do great acting. Great actors allow great acting to them.
Rob, what about
to have a great moment as an actor can't be controlled?
What about what would you say to actors who are afraid there won't be anything? Like, I think a lot of actors, have an idea and what's going to do next, and they plan it out, and I'm going to do this part and this, and then I'm going to be angry in this part of the audition, and then I'm going to be jealous, and so that they feel like there's a sense of that they have something and they're doing something, which isn't ultimately real or moving because it's controlled. But a lot of actors will say, well, I'm afraid that there won't be anything. What if there isn't anything? What if I don't feel anything? Right. What would you say to that? And what do you say to that?
Well, that's a fear-based actor, and you're in fear, not in the truth. So if you come from fear, you're going to get fear. That's it. You just said, by the way, you said, well, they're afraid. Of course they're afraid, because they're fear-based in their approach to the acting in those moments. They want to get a result. They want the people to like what they're doing. Getting a result and wanting them to like what you're doing is the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. You're not in there to be liked. You're in there to be truthful. And you're not in there for their approval. You're in there to let them see your truth. Whether they like that truth or not is not your business, honestly. Your business is to be real and to be honest, and to enjoy it, you know. It's like when I say enjoy it, to enjoy the truth of it, that you get to express this truth as that particular character is fantastic. You get to express it. You see?
What would you say to an actor who says, I don't feel anything, or I'm afraid to feel empty? What would you say to them or in class?
Have the courage to feel empty then. A true nothing is way more powerful than a false something. I'll say that one again. A true nothing is way more powerful than a false something. And an actress who in that moment feels that there's nothing happening, if they stay with that nothing happening, they're the most dangerous actress you may work with. Why? Because they're not going to produce something just to produce it. They're going to be honest where they're at. And they're not here to be a performing steel. It takes courage to be with that moment where you feel nothing's happening. If you look at it in life, two people go out, you go out for dinner. Notice how uncomfortable people get if there's a lull in the conversation, right? Well, that lull actually is pregnant with possibilities if people could be with it. In acting, that lull is pregnant with possibilities if one could be with it. You don't know what can come out of it. If you looked up in the dictionary, the meaning of nothing, or the chaos, for example, chaos. There's two meanings usually in the dictionary. One is chaos, out of control. The other is the emptiness that preceded the creation of the universe. That nothingness is actually pregnant with something wonderful can come out of it if you could stay with it and trust. I had an acting, and about a little over a year ago, I did a film, and I got a really great scene from this writer director in it. And when I saw the film, several people came up. This one casting guy came up to me and said, "Watching you was like watching jazz improv." Well, I had no ideas. I trusted what was happening in the moment of what was happening between me and the other actor. I explored. And when you explore and when you trust, it is improv. It's alive.
It's alive.
Right. So either you're coming from fear, right, and control, or you're coming from exploration and taking off your safety seatbelt, taking a ride.
And what does an actor do in the moment where they realize that they're in fear and control? What does an actor do in that moment to shift gears? What
Breathe,
would you?
breathe, just breathe, just breathe, and then put your attention on that person. Breathe and put your attention on the other person. See what's in their eyes. See the behavior. See what's going on in them. How are they breathing? What's going on in them emotionally? See what I'm saying? Breathe.
So connect to the other. Put your attention on the other actor and not on yourself.
Connection always for communication. The communication is second. It's the connection that's always
Wow.
key. A lot of people have it in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
No. The communication is coming from the connection. How connected you are. How that person in front of you has a lot going on. If you look, this might sound, I don't, maybe simplified, but talk to the face. Talk to what you got there, not an idea of what you like. Right now, you're really listening. I could see it. You're really listening. You're like, yeah, okay. You're taking that in. You're very present with that. Well, that's what's happening right now with you. It's enough. It's enough. If I trust that that's enough on film, on camera, it's enough because it's real. It's immediate, and it's alive to what actually is happening. If I ignore that, right? And come up with an idea. Now I don't even see you. It's like you're not even there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now I'm in my head talking about something that's not even there. All I got to do is like, look at you. How are you right now? And to do that, I have to be open. And therefore, I'm vulnerable. Vulnerable means being open, not defended. Imagine it's like acting's like a boxing ring, but you can't defend the punches. You got to be open and take it and give it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm open. I'm open. Like,
You have a cool story about Brando that I love.
sure.
Um, that when he, like, how he'll occasionally just pause and,
Well,
y-
the yeah, best story I ever heard of Marlon Brando. I was fortunate an actor was in my class. Brando story. So back in the 50s, Streetcar Named Desire is on Broadway. Now, here's the thing. I hope some actors here know this. Know Streetcar back in the 50s. They know their history, you know, because you're having an acting career today because of all those that came before you, you know, and knowing your history is a good thing. Marlon Brando was doing Streetcar, had 2 weeks left in the run, and Uta Hagen, who wrote a book called Respect for Acting, was going to take over for Jessica Tandy in the role of Blanche. So she was very excited she was going to work with Marlon Brando because Marlon Brando was the greatest theater actor anybody had seen. So he's doing Streetcar, 2 weeks that he's going to be leaving the show. So she's so excited to work with him. Show up for like 12 days. He's not coming in. The understudy's doing, and she has all her friends and family showing up every night. The last chance to work with Brando, 5 minutes before curtain, he comes through the stage door, and he's dressed as Stanley, and she runs up to him, all excited. Marlon, I'm getting to work with you tonight. It's the only chance. Do you want to go over the lines for a moment? And he looked at her and he said, why don't you just listen? Why don't you just listen on stage? Just listen. She was asked, how did it go that night? This was now 40 years later, Karen. She said it was the greatest acting night of my life, and it's never been like that again. I just was on stage and I listened, and I went with my genuine with that actor, and it was transformative to me. Listening is the key. Listening is the key. It's the easiest thing to do and the most difficult. Think about it. Why don't you just listen? If you're really listening, you're really present because you listen with your ears and you listen with your eyes and you listen with your heart. You're open. You're receiving and then giving, receiving you and giving truth back to you. Truth is the gift and act of giving. But if you get off the train of truth, it's very hard to get back on track. It's not easy once you're off.
but when you're off, like you said before, the key is just to listen
Yeah,
again.
because in acting, you can't have agenda. In life, most people don't listen in life. And it's not a criticism. We all do it because we're all waiting to talk. If you were really listening in life, many of those conversations would go places you couldn't even imagine. They would just go, who knows where they're going to go, right? In acting, you have to listen, and it has to go where it's going to take you. It takes you on the ride. You know, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know. I don't know is the most powerful place for an actor if they can do it. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Now, I want to make it very clear. I honor the given circumstances. I'm not just that I don't know in my own circumstance. I'm in the circumstances that writer has written. And that dictates to me, whether I have an accent, what I'm wearing, all those things for sure. But I don't control where the movement's going. That's none of my business.
Wow.
It's none of my business. So now we're talking about trust, right? Trust. I'm not saying it's easy to do in life. I'm not saying that, but it's paramount to do it as an artist.
Mm.
It's trust. That's what we're all craving. We're all craving to trust and be alive and to express our truth. And we're all craving to laugh and to cry and to feel turned on and to feel turned off. We're craving to do all of it. We're craving all of those human emotions. Why? Because you know, animals, for example. Animals get jealous. Animals get vengeful. Animals are affectionate. Animals are loving. Animals are greedy. Animals are generous. So are we. So are we. We get jealous. We get all of it. We get all of those things. And really great writers, characters that have all of those emotions. I just flashed on what's that wonderful series? Dang it! Every year they're at a different hotel.
They're in a different hotel?
Yeah, like a resort.
Oh.
I can't think of the name right now. Jennifer Coolidge won a
Oh,
Grammy.
yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the first year, I forget that wonderful actor. I think he's Australian. He's amazing. I can't think of his name right now. God, every emotion he had. Or The Last of Us, episode 3. With the wonderful actor from Parks and Recreation. With the same actor from that other show. Oh my God! Watch that scene. Watch that episode. It's incredible to watch. Watch everything they experience and feel.
Yeah, I just wrote that down.
There,
I mean, that's what we want. I mean, that's as viewers, we want to see actors who don't know what's going to happen next. As an audience, we might not feel it intellectually, but we feel it if it's like the actor knows what they're going to do. It's predictable. When we see an actor who doesn't know what they're going to do next, it's the most exciting thing. I mean, that's why
no, I'm
we go to the movies.
I'm describing how I work though in my class. Other people work with other techniques, and that works for them. It's you have to find your fit, what works for you. But regardless of what approach you take, it has to leave spontaneous and emotionally alive. You
Yeah.
know, because acting is an emotional art form. We Writers do not write for people to get along. Imagine if we went to a movie and everybody's getting along and is nice with each other. We would be bored in the first 5 minutes. It's because they write in all of these twists and not getting along, all the conflict. It's all in there. You don't have to worry about it.
It's making me think of when you were in New York, because you worked with all these greats. I mean, Bill Esper and Wynn, and you said that you were in class. I mean, you were in class with a lot of well-known actors today, and I think you had a coach who gave you a lot of compliments, but they let you get away with stuff that you as a coach would never let anybody get away with today.
I worked with a well-known acting teacher that I was able to fool.
Hmm.
I was able to fool. And to my own detriment, though, because I needed to be called out that I wasn't being truthful, that I was doing tricks. And, that's not something I usually do, but I did there and because I wanted his approval. I wanted him to like me. I wanted approval. And if an actor has tricks, they need to have somebody call them out because the tricks get in the way of truth. You know what I mean? It gets in the
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Right. But when I was with Harold, what I loved about Harold, I was working with him one day, and I'm doing something with him, and he went like this, and he went, "That's bullshit. Bullshit." I loved him. He wasn't mean. He didn't say it in a hot way. I said, you're right. It is. I knew I could trust him because he was going to keep in truth. He wasn't going to let me get away with that. Why? Because that's going to not serve me. I know what people are craving in those rooms, man. I know. When you're going in, if you're going in for a series, it depends on this. I'm talking, by the way, very good writing, really pretty high-end shows, movies. They want the truth in those rooms. They don't want tricks. They want the truth. And they want the actor that comes in that surprises them. You know the actor that surprises them, Karen? It's the actress that surprises herself as well in the moment. That's the one that surprises them, is the one that surprises herself.
Yeah.
You see?
Wow.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah. You can't surprise them unless you surprise yourself. They want the spontaneous actor there.
You know, sometimes when I put auditions on tape, I'll like plan it. I'll be like, I'll do this. Nobody else is going to do this, and I'll plan it. And you know, it's not alive.
I could almost guarantee when you have the thought nobody else is going to do this, a lot of them will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what happens in the room is you'll see good actors, you know, but they're all doing similar things. They have ideas. All of a sudden, somebody comes in and does something that you didn't even see come. You see, as Marlon Brando would say, that's the actor that stops the popcorn from going into the mouth. It's like, whoa, what was that? All you need is one, whoa, what was that moment and an opportunity? For real. It's like, whoa, what was that? But life's like that. Life is so unpredictable. Then acting should be.
I'm going to ask one more question before we start to wrap up. I feel I have all these questions I wrote down. We haven't even touched on so many of them, which is exciting. So we'll have to do this again. But just riding on the coattails of what you said something. You said something in class recently a couple times that's really excited me and intrigued me. And you said there are no rules.
Yeah, I did say that. I did. I'll say it right now. There are no rules. Who makes up the rules? Who? I don't know who they are, but I know there's no rules. What there is a wild movement of life itself. This wild movement is not rule bound. People are rule bound through cultural conditioning. It doesn't mean you have a craft. I want to make something clear. Picasso had a craft, but ready for this, Karen? What I mean by there's no rules, an artist is unruly. Picasso was unruly. Marlon Brando, unruly. Are you with me?
I'm loving this. I'm writing it down,
Yeah.
actually.
But that's what I mean by no rules. You have to then be unruly. Now, Picasso had a craft. Brando had a craft. There's many actors today that have crafts, but think of the actors that are unruly in their work. Recently, Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was fantastic. He was unruly, that character. Unruly. There's nothing, you know, again, that's life. See, here's the problem. We listen to people that speak with certainty. This is exactly what it is. And it's very seductive because we crave certainty because life is so uncertain. But you will not be alive in life if you're craving certainty. If you can't live with uncertainty, you won't feel how alive life really is. If you want certainty as an actor, I promise you will not be an alive actor. Sorry, doesn't work that way. It's not how the game works. Is the ocean ruly or unruly?
It's unruly and unpredictable.
Right. Well, you're like an ocean, you know. You're like this wave in an ocean the ocean itself. It's unpredictable. It's unruly. Unfortunately, we all got domesticated. Fortunately, there's ways to deconstruct, and that's what I did with my wife for 17, 18 years. That's what she does now with clients constantly. She does that all the time, and that's what I bring into the class when it's called for. You know, but I'm very lucky. The actors that I work with, you see it. They have big hearts and courageous, and they like having a great time being alive.
If people want to work with you or audit a class, okay. What do you got going on now? What can we tell people?
I have a Thursday in person, and I have a Friday Zoom. And best thing would be to reach out to me. My website, robertcolt.com. My email is robert@robertcolt.com. But you can pop up on the website. There's a page you can just email me directly from there. That's easy.
And your Zoom class, people from all over the country, all over the world can work with you, right?
Oh, they do.
I mean, you have a lot of New Yorkers in that one. We're based in Los Angeles right now. For people who are...
workers. I've had England, Italy,
France.
Yeah, France.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a wild one.
Yeah.
I've got a great person. Got a kick-ass Zoom class going. I got great actors, man. It's fun. It's fun. We have a great time. Yeah.
And so people, can they audit if they're out of town? Can they audit the Zoom class, or if they're in Los Angeles, can they come and audit?
Yeah,
if they come talk to you.
They just have to reach out, connect. I don't meet a person, do a Zoom. We'll connect on Zoom. Just connect and see that it's a fit for them. And just go from there. I think that's the best way to do it.
Awesome.
Again, I can't emphasize, the importance of the connection and the fit. Yeah. My whole thing is having a good time and being truthful, and I have 40 years, more than 40 years. I grew up in stroke, so I've been around it my whole life, plus a ton of life experience. So that's why I can relate to so many pieces. I pretty much have experienced just about everything one can in life. So it's pretty easy for me to connect with all the pieces that I work with. As you've been through life too,
Yeah.
You're a wonderful actor, so, and with a lot of guts, man. We keep saying courage and guts. I don't want to sound imposing. It's not. It's like, you gotta have courage, you gotta have guts. No, you gotta love the truth, I think that acting is a healing art form when you embrace it fully, because you get to be fully, which we need a lot more of that. It's one.
I think honestly, all the healing arts and healing work I've done, my journey as an actor has been the most healing thing I've ever done, and probably the most spiritual, even though I don't really like that word, because it just takes you into places you either never expect, or places that it forces you to visit certain places that are incredibly powerful.
Yeah, look, you see me demonstrate. I'll get up and do a couple of moments with you, and you said what do you say it's like for you?
Well, yeah, I think when anybody has the luck to get to work with a really wild animal, a really wild actor, what it must have been to work with Brando or anybody else, it's like an electric current. It lights you up. And I feel that with you when when I read with you occasionally, or it's just, there's this electric current that you just feel so alive, and you carry that. It's just part of the animal that you are, and it's what you bring to your classes and to any work you do as an actor.
And I'm having fun.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. You're unpredictable, and you're having fun. Yeah.
Because that's a safe place. Acting is when you get that this is the safest place for my humanity. then you're really free to play. You know, the thing is, if it doesn't feel like the safest place, you're bringing your childhood into it. You're bringing your cultural conditioning into it. You see what I'm saying? It's your playground. It's your playground to be alive and to be real, to be this beautiful human animal that you are, man. I don't know. I don't know what else could you want. You do that, and don't worry about the career. You take actions. Make sure you get that way and see what happens.
Cool. And I think we're good. If we've gone over an hour and it feels like we've been talking for 20 minutes. Anything else you want to leave anybody with, or
Yeah,
I would just invite
sure.
people to check out your work and to reach out to you and ask any questions because again, I think you're one of the best kept secrets in this town, and I do think people should know about you.
I'd like to leave everybody with this. Life is much shorter than you may realize, even if you live to 100. You know, we're blips on the radar screen. If you look at, how long we've been, our species have been here in comparison to how long this universe has been here, say to me, go, and I'll show you my life. Go ahead, Karen. There you go.
Go.
Over. Done. It's quick. It's fast. And you get this opportunity, on this, to be alive and to be an actor. Kind of a luck out, in my opinion. If that's what you love, or if you love something else, then you do that fully. But it goes quick. Then not why not be all in on it? Go all in. Go in fully. Live passionately. Live bravely, courageously. And that doesn't mean not being afraid. Be be courageous in the fear and the love, in the hate, whatever it is, But live fully and go for it, man. And do whatever you have to do to get anything that's in the way of that out of the way. Do anything you have to do because you're worth it. Be around people that empower you and that are honest with you, and and empower yourself. But be around people that really are for you, support you, want the best for you. I mean, that's very important. Your influences are huge. Who are you around? Don't be around people that question you, doubt you, that put doubts into you. They're not there. That's the wrong team. It's very important because I'm telling you, it goes fast. It goes real fast. Like, I can't believe Robert about 92. These actors that I grew up watching, they're all in their 80s and 90s. It's like, wait, it seemed like 2 years ago. You know. And last thing I'll say, there's no power outside of you, from my perspective. Don't give it away. No power outside of you. You've got power. You got power in your humanness, man, and who you really are. Right here, you. There's a lot of power there. Don't give it away, and don't let anybody take it away. And if you're somebody that or in your own way, find somebody that helps you get out of your way. Do it. Because 20 years from now, you'll still be in your way. You will. I think we all have a golden opportunity here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karen. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy this.
I don't want to say too much after what you just said because there's a lot, and it just feels like it's kind of rippling through me, and it's a gorgeous way to end this live. That's
Sure. Well,
great.
thank you for all of you who joined in on this. It's always fun. It's always fun to share this.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
All right.
People are like, yes, part 2. People in the chat.
Sure. Okay, we'll be back in an hour, everybody. I just
All right.
Work on your craft, my friends. Work on your craft. Get out of your own way. Be around those that empower you. Empower yourself. Thanks, Karen. I love you.
Yeah. I'll see you in class on Thursday.
All right. See you then. Bye.
Bye.